Have you ever wondered what it's like to take the throne when your empire is on the brink of collapse? That was the reality for Ahmed II, the 21st Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. His reign from 1691 to 1695 was short, but it was packed with drama, war, and a desperate struggle to hold a crumbling empire together. Today we're diving deep into the story of this lesser-known Sultan, a man who inherited a storm and tried to navigate his way through it. Ahmed II's story doesn't start with glorious battles or grand political schemes. It starts in a gilded cage. Like many Ottoman princes of his time, he spent most of his life confined to the palace in a system known as the Kafes, which literally means the cage. This was designed to prevent princes from rebelling, but it had a serious side effect. It left them completely unprepared for the realities of ruling. When his brother, Sulaiman II, died in 1691, Ahmed II was already in his late 40s, nearing 50, and in poor health. He had no military experience, no political training, and very little understanding of the world outside the Topkapi Palace walls. He ascended the throne at a critical moment. The Ottoman Empire was deep into the Great Turkish War, a massive conflict against a coalition of European powers called the Holy League, which included the Habsburg Empire, Poland-Lithuania, Venice, and Russia. This war had been raging since 1683, and it was not going well for the Ottomans. They had suffered devastating losses, including the failed siege of Vienna, which marked a turning point in their European expansion. So, you have this new sultan, inexperienced and unwell, suddenly in charge of an empire fighting for its very survival on multiple fronts. It's a recipe for disaster, right? Well, Ahmed II understood his own limitations. He knew he wasn't a military genius or a political mastermind. Instead, he had to rely heavily on his grand viziers and military commanders to run the show. This was a common feature of his reign. The real power often lay in the hands of the men he appointed. One of his first and most important decisions was to confirm Köprülüzade Fazıl Mustafa Pasha as his Grand Vizier. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha was a highly competent and energetic administrator from the famous Köprülü family, which had produced several brilliant Grand Viziers who had temporarily revived Ottoman fortunes. He had already started implementing major reforms under Ahmed's predecessor, trying to stabilize the economy, curb corruption, and reorganize the army. He was seen as the empire's best hope. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha immediately got to work. He tried to replenish the empty state treasury by introducing new taxes and cutting unnecessary expenses. He also tried to boost military morale and discipline, which were at an all-time low. Soldiers were deserting in large numbers, and the elite Janissary Corps was becoming increasingly unruly and demanding. Fazıl Mustafa Pasha was a firm leader who believed that only a decisive military victory could turn the tide. With the Sultan's blessing, the Grand Vizier personally led the Ottoman army into Hungary in the summer of 1691, hoping to reclaim lost territories from the Habsburgs. His goal was to retake strategic fortresses and push the enemy back. For a moment, it seemed like this bold move might work. The campaign started with some initial successes, but it all came to a tragic end at the Battle of Slankamen. The Battle of Slankamen, fought in August 1691, was a catastrophe for the Ottomans. The Ottoman army, led by Fazıl Mustafa Pasha, faced a powerful Habsburg force under the command of Louis William, the Margrave of Baden, who was nicknamed Türken Louis or Louis the Turk for his many victories against them. The battle was fierce and bloody. In a critical moment, the Grand Vizier himself was killed in action. His death shattered the Ottoman command structure and morale. The army was routed, suffering immense casualties. The loss of Fazıl Mustafa Pasha was arguably a greater blow to the empire than the military defeat itself. He was the driving force behind the reforms and the war effort. With him gone, the empire lost its most capable leader, and the momentum for reform completely stalled. Ahmed II now had to find a replacement, but no one could truly fill Fazıl Mustafa Pasha's shoes. The years following Slankamen were a downward spiral. The war against the Holy League continued to drain the empire's resources. In the west, the Habsburgs solidified their control over Hungary, a land the Ottomans had ruled for over 150 years. The dream of reclaiming it was slipping away forever. In the Balkans, Venetian forces made gains in Dalmatia and Greece, further chipping away at Ottoman territory. Even on the Polish front, the fighting continued, stretching the empire's military thin. Back in Istanbul, the situation was grim. The constant warfare led to crippling inflation. The value of Ottoman currency plummeted, and the cost of basic goods skyrocketed, causing widespread hardship for the common people. The government was so desperate for funds that it resorted to debasing the currency, mixing cheaper metals into the coins, which only made the economic crisis worse. Ahmed II, though not directly leading armies, was deeply concerned with these issues. He was known to be a pious and conscientious ruler. Surviving records show that he issued numerous decrees trying to enforce justice, protect his subjects from corrupt officials, and provide relief for the poor. He was particularly interested in the legal and religious affairs of the state. He would often consult with scholars and judges, trying to ensure that his administration was fair and just according to Islamic law. But his personal piety and good intentions were not enough to fix the deep-seated structural problems that plagued the empire. The war machine demanded everything: money, men, and supplies, and there was simply not enough to go around. One interesting aspect of his reign was his patronage of the arts and calligraphy. Like many Ottoman sultans, Ahmed II was a skilled calligrapher himself. He found solace in this art form, a quiet contemplative practice far removed from the chaos of the battlefield and the political intrigues of the court. But these personal pursuits could do little to change the harsh realities facing his empire. As his reign progressed, Ahmed II's health continued to decline. He suffered from dropsy, a condition that caused severe swelling and made it difficult for him to move. By 1694, he was largely confined to his quarters, leaving the day-to-day governance to his new Grand Vizier, Surmeli Ali Pasha. While a capable administrator, Surmeli Ali Pasha couldn't reverse the tide of the war. The military defeats continued, and the internal situation remained unstable. The Ottoman Empire was exhausted. Decades of non-stop warfare had taken their toll. The army that had once struck fear into the heart of Europe was now demoralized and on the defensive. The state bureaucracy, once a model of efficiency, was rife with corruption and instability. The economy was in shambles. This was the empire that Ahmed II presided over. In early 1695, after a reign of less than 4 years, Sultan Ahmed II died in Edirne, the city that often served as the military headquarters for campaigns in the Balkans. He was only 51 years old. He was brought back to Istanbul and buried in the tomb of his illustrious ancestor, Suleiman the Magnificent, a poignant reminder of the empire's glorious past and its difficult present. So how should we remember Ahmed II? He wasn't a great conqueror or a transformative reformer. He was a transitional figure, a man who inherited an impossible situation and did his best to manage it. His short and troubled reign is often overlooked, overshadowed by the more dramatic events that came before and after. But his story is crucial for understanding this critical period in Ottoman history. His reign represents the culmination of the crisis that had been building for decades. It highlights the fatal weakness of the Kafes system, which produced sultans who were unprepared to lead. It demonstrates the immense strain that the Great Turkish War placed on every aspect of the Ottoman state, from its military to its economy. Although the most decisive defeat of the war, the Battle of Zenta, happened in 1697. 2 years after his death, the conditions that led to that disaster were firmly established during his time on the throne. The loss of capable leadership, the depleted treasury, and the rock-bottom morale of the army were all legacies of Ahmed II's era. He was succeeded by his nephew, Mustafa II, a young and energetic ruler who would try to personally lead his armies and reverse the Ottoman decline. But the damage was already done. The war would end in 1699 with the Treaty of Karlowitz, where the Ottoman Empire was forced to cede vast territories in Europe, marking a definitive end to its expansionist phase and the beginning of a long, slow retreat. In the grand narrative of the Ottoman Empire, Ahmed II is a tragic figure. He was a well-intentioned man who ruled during one of its darkest hours. His reign was a short, difficult chapter, defined by defeat and decline, a somber prelude to the end of an era. He was a sultan who couldn't stop the storm, but was instead swept away by it. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into the life of a lesser-known sultan interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the crossroads of history. Let us know in the comments which historical figure you'd like to see covered next. See you in the next video.